Alright, and we're live. So, I hope you're having a beautiful morning, because I know I am. Hmm. 11:02 a.m. 11/11/2018. There's 22 notifications on my desktop. I love repeating numbers, don't you? I feel like it makes me sound like the math professor, or the crazy witch seeing signs in their tea leaves, But isn't that half the charm, right? Oh. I think a lot of people avoid doing these lives just because they think, well, what do I have to share? Or something like that. I think a lot of us missed it. We all have something amazing to share, you know? And all we have to do is take a look at that and figure out what it is by sharing. You don't figure it out before you start. You figure it out on the journey. Figure it out in the process, right? So at the time, you're unsure. You just seeing what works. That's kind of what I'm doing right now, right? We were doing these hangouts, and one of the reasons that I'm doing this one now is not because there's a lot of people participating or joining me. 0 viewers, and nobody's in the chat yet, at least. And here I am still talking to you, right? Why would I even do that? And really, it's because I made a choice. I decided that I was going to be available at this time to hang out with my friends, and those that could be there, great, and those that couldn't, I totally understand. And in making that decision, to just dedicate the 11 o'clock hour every Sunday to my community that I choose to be a part of is just one little thing that I can do to bring some groundedness back into my own daily routine, weekly routine, and just kind of create a space for checking in and kind of renewing myself. And so that's what this is. No, there's somebody watching. Hi there. Um, yeah, I'm just speaking to the camera. I have some breakfast sitting here that I keep looking at. I don't want to eat it. Don't mean to eat in front of you all, but breakfast got done a little later than there was time for before the broadcast. So I'm going to get eaten now. I see you're out there, though. The chat is available. Feel free to share stuff. Hmm. Oh, hello, Brandon. How are you?
I am
How are you doing?
great, Josh. How are you, Josh?
Mike trying to make noise, but I just realized, I believe, yeah, figured out why I can't hear you. Because my Bluetooth was turned on and my headphones were not in my ears. That's hilarious. How are you doing?
Been great. Just you know me, just a peach in every single day in life. Just, just living, here in the now. You know me, just living in a hard space. Well, how you been, brother? How's been life? How's been life treating you? What is up with you?
Breakfast.
I see you up from your slumber.
Yes, I woke up. My wife was dancing around the kitchen, singing, and decided she was making breakfast for everybody. So I am making it a point to enjoy this breakfast while it's warm. It's quite tasty.
I see it's a burrito. So, what is up, Josh? Like in life in general, like what would you would like to talk about like today? Uh, in this hangout of the spirit tribe.
Well, food, right? Breakfast. What is it? I put a title on this one and called it Renewal because we just had a new moon last week and since the last chat. And so I thought, that was a good vibe to throw up for today's, kind of theme was renewal. That cycle, as you will, that ebbs and flows, is it's reflective of the tide, how it goes out and comes back in. It's just always up and down, up and down. And isn't that, just like our breathing cycle? right? It goes in and
Yeah.
out, in and out. But it's that same cycle, that same sine wave, right?
Yeah.
And I see everyone get really focused on that upward climb, right? Because they're all aiming up. They want to be up here. But I don't see a whole lot of people really appreciating that point where you're all the way down. But I don't know about
Like
you, but
where
I just always enjoyed, that moment as a kid where you're told you're done with your chores and you can go sit down or go play. I enjoyed that free time where you could just let the air out of your lungs, stop stressing, and just be for a minute. That time of renewal. And I thought it felt very much like that vibe this morning. And considering that, this is our second one of these new hangouts where we are just holding space for everyone to come together when they have time, when they want. And I thought this would be a good time to talk about that topic, especially
exactly.
as I was sitting here and wasn't sure if you were awake and going to make it and if anyone was going to show up. And I was just like, well, I'm just going to talk about this stuff anyways. I just talk to the camera and that works. It's fun just to be here.
It is helpful you to just like put on the camera, just speak with whatever what thoughts that come with your mind, because I feel like it that every time that giving it to become something that we are not in the long run, that we seek treasures that is already within us, like that when the soul when you have peace within, that is when you are rich. And the eagle says, when I have all the riches in life, that is when I shall um, be happy. So it's actually the soul that here, just by just being, listening, just hearing your heart. That's the ultimate happiness here that it is in life.
I dig it. This
That,
this being, this being peace. I've really been
I
exercising and practicing that lesson a lot this year, right?
yeah.
I
I see you are lost in a philosophical thought, Josh. What's in your mind, brother? Share with everyone here.
Oh, well, that's exactly it. Just considering that thought of being peace and how it's been a theme for me this year. You know, it's not a normal, by this society's standards at least, behavior or thought, because this society says that you need to worry. Well, have you paid your bills yet? Do you know how you're going to pay your next bills yet? Do you know how you're going to eat tomorrow? Do you know what you're going to eat tomorrow? Do you know if everyone likes you? All these thoughts that are the default mode for most people. I mean, you watch reality TV and you can see it very clearly that it matters to people what other people think of them. And you'll see people go into a full fight or flight response because their check was smaller than they expected it to be, and they didn't properly estimate their future. As if they have the ability to actually imagine what's going to happen in the future. Nobody does. Well, we try, but we're kind of terrible at it, and we're really good at convincing ourselves that we're not terrible at it. And that's all we do, though. We just predict the future constantly with our minds. And those predictions are entirely based on our past experience. And so if you can't tell what's going to happen next, and your only available information or data comes from the limited pool of things that have already happened just to you, there's a pretty good chance that you got an infinite amount of options and a limited number of ideas that you're going to get it wrong. Period. And yet we still trust ourselves and think we should worry, that we should, be stressed out because I don't, have lips like this person, or a butt like them, or a wallet full of cash, or a bank full of money, right? But none of those things matter. It doesn't even matter when we have connection issues and I'm the only one on the live call again. None of that matters, right? No, it matters that you're gone. Oh, look, you return. Well, there you are.
Hey Josh, sorry, I got cut off, so I'm using my phone right now.
Okay. I was just sitting there staring at this rock that my friend gave me this week. My friend Amber, a very awesome person, and she gave me this rock she found this week, and she didn't even know what kind it was. And as soon as I looked at it, I don't know if you can see it all that well. No, there's too much light. It just disappears as I get it close to the camera.
It disappeared into the light.
Yeah. It's kind of a bright morning here. And I have not been able to get everything in order to rearrange the shooting location for these shots. My office will be eventually to where I'm facing this way. So the lights all come in from the side and it'll look great, but I'm not there yet. Still have more work to do on my office, but that's okay. But I'm looking at this rock, right? And it's an igneous rock, the kind of rock that's, oftentimes referred to as volcanic glass. And, this kind of rock is kind of cool because it's been through its own renewal cycle, right? Where it was a different kind of rock, but then it spent a lot of time in a real hot situation where the pressure just kept on building. And eventually it reorganized itself into a crystalline structure. And that's where you get these igneous rocks.
Oh wow! I haven't actually heard about that, but I did hear again that throughout the chats, all of you, the entire tribe, have been talking about that as well. Especially if I remember correctly, Eddie talked about that once as well. That exact crystal, if I remember correctly.
I think he did actually. Now that you mentioned that, which is an interesting synchronicity there. So Eddie, if you're listening, I'm thinking of you, buddy, and your creationship concept, because I really enjoy that book, and I miss you, my friend, and I would like to see you again. So if you watch this, know that you're loved, and I miss you. And I understand you're busy. I do, but I also understand that I love you, and I'm right here whenever you do get a minute. Sorry, little personal message there for Eddie, because I just miss him.
And I haven't never formally introduced myself to Eddie, but I'm sure if Eddie's watching this, I'd love to meet you, brother, and share some knowledge between each other. Love to meet him. Love to formally introduce myself to him. I was also wanting to suggest to you, Josh. I brought myself a sign. We're calling that here. It's a plaque
You
called
what?
True
I'm
Live.
sorry, I lost you there.
Can you hear me? Hello?
Huh. Hold on a second.
Hear
You
me?
say that one more time?
Hey? Hello?
Yeah, I can hear you. No, my headphones died. I'm with you now.
All right. Because I was wanting to suggest you this because since we're talking about renewal, and I feel like you have gone already past that stage of your life where it's now time for you to transition and to renew yourself and to delete yourself so you can start off fresh, a new you. I feel like you should purchase make or buy something like I know that with the current situation that you're in, buy a sign that says Psionic Designs Studios or Production, because that you in essence would stampede a mark of like renewal that you will be starting a new project, that you'll be growing as Psionic Designs. So have I with True Living, so that I am being called True Living Productions. You know.
Old me would have said that was a waste of money, but I actually completely agree with you. I think that's a great idea. I think it's time to kind of make that decision. I've had a website for like 2 years now, and I rarely direct people over to it, and I probably should do more on it. I mean, I've got a lot of stuff that has been in the works for a while that needs to get finished, and pages that I have built and haven't displayed. But if I'm gonna make that decision to purchase a digital sign, then I might as well have a physical one here.
Yeah, put it outside.
I think I'm gonna go paint it on the wall outside my office.
Oh yeah,
That'll be fun. But I'll post some pictures on Instagram for you as I do it, so you can see it.
Yeah. And because trust me, as soon as I brought that sign here for front of me, it put jitters in my heart. I said, "Oh my God!" I said, my room has become my office now. Oh my God! It just filled me up with so much joy.
I really like watching people like Tom Bellew. He does that show Impact Theory here on YouTube, and he's one of these amazing people who is my kind of billionaire. I don't know that he's actually like a Wall Street billionaire or whatever, but what I call my kind of billionaire is uh, I want to say it was, I don't remember, maybe it was Jason Silva that came up with this idea, but this idea that you become a billionaire not because you have $1 billion, but because you've impacted 1 billion people's lives, right? And so that's what I would call a noble goal. Is you get up every day and your goal is not that I'm successful today. It's that by the time I die, I will have improved the lives of 1 billion people, and hopefully before then.
Yes.
And so I spent a lot of time watching his show, especially as he talks to all these amazing people. And one of the things that I love about that is getting to see all these people who, by society standards, have made it, right? But every single one of them, still speaks as though they're just now getting started. They still speak of whatever it is they're doing as their next task, not, well, I'm done now. The only, well, I'm done now is they're not still seeking success. They already feel as though they achieved that every morning when they get up and they work towards whatever their goal, their purpose is in life. And, you know, me personally, I really like the goal of helping 1 billion people. You know, it's I don't have to do anything to their life. I don't have to give them $100 or anything like that, you know, to improve their life. All I really got to do to improve their life is to get them to stop and really honestly consider where they're at right now and how they look at things. If I get them to do that one time, then I've improved their life. You know, and it's not aiming low. That's so showing that it doesn't just have to be this one format. It can be in any way you've improved someone's life. I think we all do that all the time.
That is so true. But like, I feel like that like, even if we keep on going, that is what it takes. Is just to keep on trying to help people, but not in the way that you want to force people like to change, like to help them, but just to simply just like help them in life in general. Because I remember that there was this story that even so that we not might be able to help 1 million people at once when we're starting out, but as long as we're consistent and that we keep on showing compassion and being helpful to everyone whoever comes across in our life, it would mean the world to that one person. Because if I remember the story, it went like this, like um, so I might be incorrect on how I phrase it, because it's been a while since I heard the story. It's like a man, an old man, kept on like walking down on. You're right, Josh. um, that an old man, every day he would walk down the beach, and he would always see the starfishes that have been washed up upon shore. And that every single day he would pick up with a starfish and throw it back into the ocean. And he would do this continuously every single day. he would do this every single day, throwing starfishes that have washed up on shore, throwing them back into the ocean. And one day, a man came up to the old man and said, why do you keep on throwing back the starfishes back into the ocean, even so you died here that you might not save all of them? And then after, the old man just simply and then the old man just simply replied, it is because even so I might not help every single one of them. It meant the world to that one starfish that I saved its life to when I threw it back into the ocean.
I've always loved that story. I don't remember the
Yeah.
first time I heard it, but you know, that's kind of the thing, isn't it? It's like, it's not about being Superman, right? I don't need to save everyone in this one fell swoop. But if I can just be there with one person, genuinely, then in a way, I'm already done. Because, you know, we humans, we are, you know, repeating creatures. You know, monkey see, monkey do, right?
Creatures of habit.
That's right. And our first habit is to mimic what we observe. And so I don't have to tell someone to act a certain way. I don't have to physically go and hold their hand. All I have to do is be me and let my behavior be the example that gets copied.
That's all you can ever do in life.
My kid
Just these.
blows me away sometimes. She does that. I'll watch her, like her and her friends will have some kind of, little dramatic, problem crop up, as all teenagers do, right? But it's fascinating to me because she's hit that age where she doesn't really need me to like step in and give her advice. She's got this, right? But when I just step back and stay out of it, she might, get a little agitated at first, but then it'll hit her. And next thing you know, she's telling her friends to calm down. And she's explaining to them how to reframe whatever's happening so that they can calm down a little bit too and get a little perspective on it. And it really blows me away. Sometimes she'll say things and I'm just like, man, I wish I'd thought of that. That's really good. I want to go write that down. It's which actually kind of brings me to a conversation I was having with another friend this week. It's hard to know what to say or explain or teach to someone because you already know it, right? So the things that you take for granted as being obvious, that they may not be obvious to everyone else. That it's you're under, what is it called? The curse of knowledge, where because you know it, you don't see that other people don't know it. It's obvious to you. And go ahead.
Oh no! I was just gonna say that here, like just that word. It gives me the chills on my spine because it's the word that has cursed many of philosophers and teachers and even villains in movies and superheroes. It has that one word that has plagued the many Supermen, many heroes, and many villains in life. Gosh, that one word.
Which word?
The curse of knowledge. I say that here that you know something, I say I know something that you do not know.
Right. That's it's a really, really heavy concept. But I got to talking to a friend about it this week because we had that new moon this week, and one of the things that came with that was this. There was a bunch of other stuff that happened too. Specifically, the idea that Jupiter is moving signs, and so is Uranus, and so it's like these two planets happen moving or transitioning signs. And these are big planets, slow movers, and so if they're both transitioning within like 2 days of each other, and a new moon happens right in the middle, it's this theme of it's time to take a look at all these old patterns, and go, I see myself and I see who I have been. And then to look to the future, because now I see who I can become if I so choose. And, when I came to that realization, I was talking to my friend. And I told him about my own, mental blocks that I have against money And one of the things that he pointed out to me was, with the curse of knowledge, the thing that trips you up the most is thinking you need to figure it out before you act. Right? Because you're so arrested with this idea that I need to figure out how to explain this and not miss any of these steps, that you're missing valuable teaching time that you could just be teaching, right?
Yes.
And so he says, when you're lost in the wilderness, you don't stop and make camp and study the map for a day.
You don't
stop for
make...
a second. You stop for a second. You breathe. You look over the map, and you start moving again. Because if you stay in one place, then you're gonna stay lost. You've got to keep moving. Left foot, right foot. One foot in front of the other.
That is very true. That's quite lovely, that wisdom, that's the wisdom between friends. Like, you just have to keep on moving. That's all you can ever do. Like sharks, if I don't know if this is true, but if sharks stay in one place enough, they will die because they will not hunting. But in the essence, that is true. In the fact, in a way,
Oh no, they will die. They can't breathe like we do. I think is what it is. But I know it has something to do with how they breathe, because they actually have to keep moving forward to keep the water circulating, keep it refreshed, so that they can keep breathing. They can't move backwards, and they can't really sit still. They can slow down, but they can't really sit still.
Oh my goodness!
But yeah, and think about that. That's just like a river too, right? How many times does life and life's journey get compared to a river? How many different stories? Always moving. Even when it looks calm on the surface, the water is moving. Always.
Yeah.
And that's us. But anxiety tells us, we should throw a big rock in the middle of the river right here to stop it from going. But what happens when you throw a big rock in the river right here? Well, it doesn't stop it from moving. It just stops it from moving through that section where a rock is. It builds up on this side until it's bigger than that rock, and then it washes over it, doesn't it? But just like anxiety, you can try to stop when you're freaking out, but you never actually stop. Instead, you're mentally moving in a circle, faster and faster and faster and faster.
Yes, it's like it just allow you the water just to wash it away, like a quote from Marcus Aurelius. He said, "You are a river, my friend. Whatever is thrown into you, whatever sediment, whatever dirt, whatever muck is thrown into you, do not worry, because you are water, and the water shall break down the sediment into pieces and wash it away. Be water, my friend."
I dig it. You always have good quotes. Really appreciate that.
Good quotes.
You always have really great ones, so I really appreciate that.
Oh, it's like I just want to share that is all I ever want to do. Like, what you should do, Josh? You should create an inspirational video that's in sort of like a brain vomit, a brain puke, with some fancy edits and stuff, and just sort of like a shots of all, and then just post it and just see what happens. And like something that you really is up on your mind. It's just like a brain vomit. and then after maybe I can help you like to edit it a little bit, and then after just like see what happens, you know?
So yeah, I think that's a great idea actually. I was gonna say that's not a bad idea, but I know that is a trap thought that I have where I'm gonna derail. So let me route back and I'll explain it as I go. So that's a great idea, and it's a great idea because just like when I started the call, it was a lot easier for me to just start the call and just start talking because I can just do that and then I have all that audio already recorded. And I can take that and I can change the video up. I can edit in other things. That's a great idea, Brandon. Thank you.
No.
What I meant by a trap thought, though. All right. So that's anything that induces anxiety, any thought, any phrase that gives you anxiety. It's a trap or an anchor, right? It's like if you're on. I'm from Arkansas, so references to the Mississippi River are pretty common. All right, and the Mississippi River is interesting because unlike most rivers, it's freaking huge, right? It's really wide, big enough that you can drive big boats up and down it. I mean, a lot of big boats at once. It's a really big river, and if you throw an anchor over the side of your boat, you might keep going mostly straight for a moment or two. But as that anchor sinks and you're dragging it along the bottom of the river, it's going to catch hold of something. And then you're not going straight anymore. Instead of straight with a slight drag to one direction, you are now going in a circle, dragging around that anchor, right? And that's kind of like what happens in our mind when that word or that phrase that triggers anxiety, is heard. It's like throwing our anchor down and we can't go any further. So we can't quite get away from the anxiety. We can get away from it for just a second, then we circle back around, right back into it head on. And that re-triggers us and we get a new flood of neurochemicals and that bakes our system and perpetuates that fight or flight mode, which increases our cortisol levels and continues and continues and continues. And how many times do you do that through a day? With all that cortisol floating around in your system, it has a use, but you're not supposed to use it that many times in a day. I mean, not naturally, at least.
Oh, but well, I could say as well that with that point, I feel like that could be also be used as a tool for integration and healing, such as because our mind is like a spiral. It brings us back to thoughts that we have de-associated and rejected from our mind and suppressed it, and it's. You little dog, I never noticed that. Your dog.
He's just sleeping right next to me. He says, I'm tired. Oh, he's a good boy.
Oh my god. Oh my god. I'm attracted by his cuteness.
It's a trap.
I was attracted by his cuteness. Well, as I was saying, it is like having an anchor from a negative thought, like you said, like entrap you. I feel like that it is a sign from some type of force or from yourself to just simply take the time to be with those emotions and thus to try to integrate it, because with many accounts of negative emotions that we've experienced, we've been taught that it is wrong to feel that way and that you must be like this or you must be like that. But if we manage to just simply be with those emotions and that to try to integrate it into our being by communicating with it or doing whatever methods that work with you, we can begin to like first try to like become one with ourselves again, because there is this metaphor that is for our soul, that every time when we are in a negative situation, we are like dimensions into our human body, our spirit, and every single time that we experience anything negative, our being fragments into like different directions, into like different personalities, like a river flowing down different sides of the stream. So if anybody's watching this, I am not trying to undermine or make fun of this disorder like schizophrenia. It's like having another personality, which in essence we all have schizophrenia, because in many cases we feel differently, we act differently, we wear different clothes, every single day we are treating other people differently as we did yesterday, and in various cases and hours in a day we can be a different person. So every single day we are fragmenting because of various emotions that we feel. But if we can just simply integrate with those emotions, we could start to integrate ourselves back into oneness. But what is beyond oneness, that is incomprehensible. So that is the ego of thinking that we should become oneness. So that oneness must be expanded upon that, and saying that it is just the all, you know.
Man, you went really heavy there. So I'm just I'm letting that weigh its way through me before I reflect. That was heavy. The idea of the oneness creating a sort of spiritual ego is kind of a relevant topic, I think. Speaking of talking to my friend, that was one of the things that we talked about, was how myself included, but I see people who go on with their life purpose, and it's aligned with some spiritual goal that they have, right? Or some spiritual idea or belief they have about themselves or the universe. And how often, as the soul goes through this stage of when it recognizes an interconnected nature with other beings and the universe itself, that this spiritual ego crops up. And it's an interesting synchronicity that you brought that up. That's why I needed a moment to just kind of digest what all you'd said. This idea that you need to expand into unity consciousness, I think it's a tricky slope, right? Because you're a person for a reason. All right. You have this form that's an individuated experience point for a reason, not so that you can throw it away. Right? And so when you're seeking spiritual unity, and when you say you're speaking from that space, my question is, are you speaking from a space of the all perspective, where all things are in fact one, or are you speaking from the space of the ego who really doesn't want to die, and so whitewashes everything in reality to just be it? And I think that if you're still acting egoically, then it's probably that second action or the second option there. And not that it's, I'm not grading anyone, I'm not judging anyone one way or the other, but this is just a point of logic of you can't really say that I'm speaking from, the all perspective and whatever you're speaking about be coming from a place of I'm right. Because there's no I to be right. And both of those things cease to exist in all consciousness. Because there's no I if all is one. And there's no sense of right or wrong, because that's duality and that can't exist when all are one. Everything is what it is, perfectly as it expresses itself. All parts are needed for the clock to work, right?
It brings you to another quote, like from, if I remember, Pythagoras or Marcus Aurelius. He said, "Fools! You think you must say something, because the master is always silent, and the one who doesn't know is the one speaking." Well, that could be to every single being on earth, like me, you, everybody, like whatever we're talking about, it could be a whole lot of baloney, because we might not even know what is actually about life. But it is about that contemplation that arises, that essence of life, which brought up the experimentation for science. And for science is what arises evolution for mankind.
I love that. Great.
That's like me, you, everybody, like spirit science, Ralph's mother, everybody in the world. It could be just talking a whole bunch of baloney. Because it's what we perceive and what we make to believe what the world is. But beyond that, it's just is. There is no comprehension, there is no thought, there is nothing whatsoever,
I love that. I get into a lot of trouble when I'm discussing the measurement problem, but I think that it's important, because it basically points exactly to what you're just describing there. And the measurement problem is, if you can't trust your senses, then how can you trust your measurements? Right? And so if we know that our senses can be tricked based on our preference, then all of our measurements can be tricked based on our preference. And if that's the case, then we can't ever rationally compare anything. And so there's no such thing as relativism at that point. It's not possible. And not only that, but realistically, the only thing that can exist for you is just this idea of things rather than the things. The actual thing is unobserved. It's hidden behind a veneer of what I expect the thing to be, right? How many times have you imagined something, but when you actually get it, it's not like what you imagined? So I think it's very much in line with what you're talking about there with, we have these ideas when we decide to be spiritual and reach out and try to help and teach people. But we're still human, right? We're still people, and we're going to people it up, you know? And that's okay, because we're all just people.
Exactly, exactly. It's because it is that innovation that improves our being, because we are beings of just simply expanding, 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 and there's no end to that. And it's to that point here where I say that the reason why we think of such ludicrous things here, I'm not just discounting all of the rest of the world, like science, everything, like me, what I talk about, like everybody, everyone. It could be a whole bunch of baloney, but yet it is that innovation that improves human life and where we live, and that we try to understand that with our perception, and not to fall into a dead world, like Friedrich Nietzsche said, to fall into a world of nihilism. But it is to build the housework for that awareness in our soul, to awaken the for that realization that we are the Superman, so that we can awaken ourselves into that realization that like life is just is. Our innovation to create a better life, it is here down to us as a being, that it's just everything is just is. We can do whatever we want in this world, but it's only yet to what limits here our mind puts upon ourselves, you know.
Right, because we don't see what is, we just see the thing we think it is. I dig it.
Yeah.
I dig it. I dig it.
Yeah, dig it. Yeah, dig it, brother.
You
Oh
know,
my
I
god.
laugh because more and more I sound like that hippie that I made fun of as a kid.
It's like, you know, and now that you said that, you remind me so much about how I told myself as a child, I would never wear black. It is so dark. It's so everything. I would never become wearing things, and that I would not do certain things, and I would not wear certain things. And look at me now, Josh. I am actually I am actually doing and wearing things that my childhood person said that I would never do. And that I just realized is because I back then I was leading to please the expectations of other people. And I wasn't talking for myself back then. I was talking for other people.
More of that creature of habit. You were repeating the habits that you'd learned, be those habits of behavior, opinion, clothing, doesn't really matter. We're all, as kids, we're just copying the adults we see around us, really. And so somebody thought black was too dark of a color, and you really liked the person that said that or the way they said it. And so you decided to repeat it.
Yeah, exactly.
Ooh,
And
I
that
like that. I'll wear that as part of my story, right?
yes, it's like that is a piece of wisdom that I can pass on to the next generation. Is that you will always become what you said that you will never do in the future. That's a piece of wisdom that I can give you to the next generation of humans. That you will always become in the future what you say now that you will never become.
Well, you know what's beautiful? You
What's
you
beautiful?
just you already have given it to the next generation because we're live on the internet right now talking, and it's on YouTube, which means that unless YouTube some like decides to start deleting videos at some point in the future, which is pretty doubtful because in all reality we're in the information age where information will just become crystallized as part of large data collections. And so I firmly believe that, what we're doing now will exist on the internet for the rest of human existence.
That is true. It is like the internet is another world into itself. Like there is pocket worlds in our Earth. There is the ocean, the world of the ocean, another dimension where you can fly but you cannot breathe. The internet, the black void of our internal consciousness made physically so we can use a projection such as our mindset but physically portrayed in a computer. But pocket dimensions in this world, but we cannot find them. All we can ever do is just see them and try to experience it.
Sorry, I just noticed that Noah, I think is his name, had commented in the Slack.
Noah.
He's no cab in the Slack.
Oh yes, no cap.
Yeah. And he'd asked this question. I'm guessing everyone's religious views on here are different but similar. Does anyone want to share a testimony?
Testimony.
And so I'm gonna guess that I don't think he's watching, but testimony is a good word and it's telling. In Christianity, that word is used pretty heavily. It's not meant to mean proselytizing, trying to convert someone. Testimony is a story, but it's your story, your personal experience, right?
Yeah.
With the divine, with how the divine touched your heart, your life, and in what way. And so, telling testimony, I think, is something that is a very important practice, and that one of the reasons I'm so thankful that I was born into, a Christian family. I mean, there's plenty of reasons why I'm not happy that that's where I was born, but those experiences still taught me a lot, and they led me to who I am today. So I am grateful for them, and the good and the bad. But as far as testimony goes, Brandon, what got you personally invested into spirituality?
I would say just the urge to just connect different perceptions and to see why we label it spirituality when in fact it is merely just wanting to live to the 100% capacity and authenticity of the human spirit. So that is why that every single time when somebody tells me that, so are you a religious person? Are you a Buddhist? Are you this? Are you that? I simply tell them that when I began this journey, it was simply from a question of why, and that's me wanting it to gather up all the information of the world and to live 100% true to the actual living way of a human being, by living by its all factors, by seeing how everything works naturally in a symbiotic way. Just 100% authentic to my spirit. So it's just simply a question of wanting to heal the earth and wanting to heal everyone else on earth so that I can live 100% to the capacity and authenticity of a human spirit that is not labeled but just simply a seeker for knowledge and a person who wants to heal.
Just a seeker of knowledge and a person that wants to heal, though. I don't know. I think that's a habit of speech, but it's one that kind of gets at me. Where, especially in this society, we say things like, "I'm just a seeker of knowledge," right? Whereas 100, 200 years ago, or further back throughout the beginning of history, um, a seeker of truth was not common. So nobody was just a seeker of truth, right?
Yeah.
It was, I am a seeker of truth. You know, something said with confidence, something that you put first, not at the end of your description or titles, but the beginning, right?
Yeah.
And, you know, and a healer, you know, we in today's society, we gloss over the fact that we have so many doctors available, right? But for the majority of human existence, if you got hurt or sick, there's a good chance you were going to die. All right. And a healer was a rarity. And someone who felt called to constantly face seeing the human body in sickness and ill health to try to help people recover was not a common person. Someone who felt called to be able to help people on that level was not normal. It was not something you could just go to. There might be a medicine man in your village that could help, or you're going to have to walk a few days to get to another village and ask their medicine man if he'll help, right?
Mm.
And that was if you were lucky and you lived near a medicine man.
Mm.
So it's just the fact that we, you know, and I say we because I do it too, right? But the
Yeah.
fact that we put these things at the end, you know, as an addendum, as a attachment that, you know, can be ignored in polite society. It's an oddity to me because I don't think that our values have shifted so much as a people. I just think that our habit of speech, our habit of socialization has put those things on the back burner. And that if we change our habits and how we speak about them, other people will too.
Yeah. Like it's more like that. I wanted like just to be just like a wanderer, like just a human, just wanting just to live 100% to the true state of a human being, of what actually a human being is. But then after I realized that when you define what you think is actually a human being, you are not actually knowing what it actually is, you know.
That whole, I can see the thing I think it is, not what the thing is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
so that's
I get that.
so that's why every time I tell people not to label me, because it diminishes what I could be with their perception of me. And then after, so that's why I just consider myself just a wanderer, just wanting to show, like, for you to put out your own authenticity, and like to look beyond the curtain, and just to live 100% authentic to the spirit. And then after that is why in my head, when we do that, and that's why I started on this journey. When you do that, it will start a chain reaction of healing, because like we talked about, you're trying the example, people will follow suit to their own way, not to your way. That they will both try to heal themselves and to heal who they are and within inside of them, and to live 100% to how what a human being is. So therefore we can heal the earth, because my main objective was always to start a chain reaction to heal Mother Gaia as well, because as a child I always felt that I had a very strong connection to her, and I feel like I still do until this day.
that's everything you said is very interesting to me because I see myself in it, a lot of ways. That this whole conversation topic started from this idea of testimony, right?
Yeah.
And I see myself in it in the sense that I see myself as very non-religious, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I'm also an ordained Wiccan priest, okay, which is technically a religion. Um, I don't follow dogma. I can't, accept dogma. I'm too much of a skeptic, right? But
Mm.
that starkly contrasts with my direct felt experience of spiritual entities throughout my life. You know, uh, one of my fears when I was growing up was that I was schizophrenic. You know, and what's the difference between a schizophrenic and a person who actually sees angels? Uh, one gets prescribed medication. That's the difference. All right. Because realistically, there's no functional difference to the experience. It feels just as odd. The difference, I guess for some would be that entity is telling you to stab everyone, whereas the entities were not ever telling me to stab. Well, I mean, mostly not ever telling me to stab everyone. Um, but that felt direct experience of being connected to a greater spiritual reality was always present for me. And I like to chalk that up to all of my near death experiences. I just feel like I've always had one foot on each side of the veil. But I don't think that like requires me to be religious per se. You know, I
Yeah.
think that religion is like an easy button if you don't really want to focus on spiritual growth. If you're happy with just chopping wood and carrying water, there's nothing wrong with that. And I think that's kind of the point.
Mm. It's cause it is like how I actually feel like I'm starting to connect it back into the knowledge that I had as a small child right now, and just for this moment I feel like it's because that I've written on so much journals when I was little, and I remember some of the incident that I was. It's exactly what you've been talking about. It is because what I simply said, and it is from my observations, it is that it's everything on comprehension, the veil of eternal nothingness. It's in us, but it expresses itself to us. But because of our individual mindset, which makes us unique, don't get me wrong about that, and that's what I love about it. It's what it expresses itself through ourselves, but it is actually us at the same time. And so we see that experience as something divine. So we take that divination and then after we portray it as something else, such as a priest, a Hindu, a Muslim, or whatever religious person you may ever think of. It is their own experience of the eternal nothing. Even my words cannot comprehend or cannot express what it actually is. Their expression of the great silence or whatever, it is what, and they portray it as something different. So the Hindus as Lord Shiva, Brahma, and the many different gods that are archetypes of who we are. The priest, so on, an archetype, and so on and so on and so on. So that is why I always wanted to unveil every single curtain that is behind every single perception of life, and to express that it is simply us being, because just one more last vomit of my brain. It reminds me of like Jason Silver video as well that I've learned and I've also seen through my observation. It is that we came here on Earth with nothingness, with the power of an animal, with the mind of an animal. Who we are, where we are, and then it's like we we came up with the free ways of living and to survive in this strange world that we find ourselves in. And it is the romantic love, to find yourself in a relationship and to embrace each other, because you know that someday and someday I feel like you who I took this inspiration from, that someday that we're all gonna die. And then so we figured out three ways of living. It is the romantic love, that being in the embrace of a romantic partner and to know that everything is going to be fine and to become one with the yin yang. And then the other way of living, which is the religious way. It is here to become a priest, or you're to follow a certain doctrine because you know that you will always live forever in the kingdom of God. And there is the third way, that what can we do with this world that we live in, that we don't know where we are? What can we do? What can we be in this world without all the shitty bang bang or hibbity dang? What does for this moment? What can you do in life that can change something for the better right now, and that it will make the time that you have on this earth something worthwhile, a story that can be told like a fable and a legend, which you will become a god into itself.
I like that question. I love that video, and you're right to know where you were inspired from. But I think that it's really beautiful to, feel that inspiration, and the way that we reshare those inspirations, the way that, we repackage and remix it into a conversation is the quintessential, experience of the sharing of human awareness and experience. It's what we're all seeking to do right here, right now. That's the thing that really, gets us on the edge of our seat is ideas. We all want to be enchanted with ideas. And you do a beautiful job of it, Brandon. And I appreciate you for that. We are running about an hour and 20 minutes into the call or so. And I need to get up and in the call. So I think that's where we're going to call it. But before we do, I just want to say, if you have not checked out Brandon's channel, you should go do that. Like immediately, as soon as this video ends, you need to go to True Living. And if you can't find that, just click on my channel page, all right? And over in the suggested channels, you'll find True Living. Just go to that channel, okay? Go there, like next, all right? Check him out. Also, go check out his website. It's pretty awesome. And maybe together we can all learn to just enjoy right now a little more, exactly as it is, accepting it as it is.
God.
I love you,
See you
Brandon.
later. Love you
Have
too,
fun.
Josh.